Been a minute, but I'm back. Not sure exactly where this is going, but buckle up and go for the ride. Um, this move has kind of sucked. Just keep it real. Logistically, it's about what you expect when you go from having a fairly large townhome to an apartment. So let's get that out the way. In addition to that, having to downsize stuff, having to get rid of certain stuff, having to consolidate stuff, with little to no help, is taxing. Fortunately, we're blessed to have a few of my wife's coworkers come and help. So that definitely helped out quite a bit. It just is what it is. That aside, there's been a lot of relational challenges. Let's leave it at that. I won't delve anymore. Just take my word for it. It's just a matter of just doing a lot of reflection and wondering what the next phase is. When and how do I reattack pouring into me, and just really being more diligent, consistent with self-love, self-care, having sound, solid, and healthy mental health. So that's where I'm at. And I've really been suffering for a while, if I'm being honest. And I'm being honest. It's just like anybody else, man. Like, everybody goes through things and in phases. We're in the spaces that they're in, right? In the places that they're in, even. And this is definitely one for the books, as they say. The question is what's ahead in the next chapter? I can't remember where exactly I heard it from, but seemed to be a great philosophy in that this, I can't remember if it was like a TV show or it was actually like a movie. I can't remember the movie. But anyway, one of the lines in the movie was, we're all subject to a handful of life-altering, life-changing, life-demanding issues, milestones, if you will. Marriage, divorce, birth, death, losing your job, getting your job, getting money, losing money. A lot of those pivotal milestones in our lives have really have the audacity, as it were, to test us and to change our lives, right? And life, more or less, is compartmentalized in essentially three elements. The milestone itself, which, in time is going to divulge whether or not it was a help or a hindrance. You have the time before the milestone, in which your headspace was what it was, your activity was what it was. Maybe you were complacent on something, maybe you weren't. And then you have that time, arguably the most critical time, is after the fact, right? After a certain milestone has taken place. Death, a birth, marriage, job, money, all of that. A lot of it is really meant to sharpen you. Obviously, it's hard, in life sometimes, when you got so many things being thrown at you sometimes, at the same time, or just at the most inopportune time, right? The audacity of life. And really what the universe is asking is, now what? Now what? What do you do now? This particular incident or this particular event happened. Now what? How do you move now? How do you go about life now? What happens from here on? And that's a great segue to my next question. What does your optimal self look like? What does your ideal self look like? This is one of the things I've really been discussing in therapy and learning in therapy. And soon enough, I'll probably do another what I learned in therapy video. But right now, during this catalyst conversation, just a brief um, monologue in regards to some things I'm picking up along the way in this particular spot that I'm in. So, ideal self, and what does that look like? What are you doing? What are you achieving? What are you striving and chasing? What goals and ambitions do you have? Whether personal, professional, life, love, financial, what are those things? And what are you doing in regards to achieving those things, acquiring those things? Better yet, what are you doing? What do you look like when you're doing these things and you're involved in them? Can you see it in your mind's eye, if you will? The Bible says in Hebrews that faith is the evidence of things hoped for and things not seen, right? So, we say things like blind faith. It's a redundant statement. Just by definition, faith is a blind action. It's a blind activity. Now, it's not saying don't have the wherewithal. It's not saying due diligence from the standpoint of understanding what you're getting into. The difference is that you're content, you're hopeful, if you will, in God moving you through this particular valley, in this particular phase in your life, for something that's going to glorify Him and His purpose on your life, and B, subsequently help your life, right? They say all great things work to the good of those who love God, right? I'm loosely paraphrasing. I may be in and out of, Bible scholars don't scrutinize me too much. I'm a sinner saved by grace. So I'm still well on my way. But be that as it may, being on my way, I've realized that a lot of the things I've been seeing on IG and Facebook and social media is true. You have to envision it and see it in your mind's eye. And especially with mental health, sometimes that's really extremely hard to do. It's hard to see the forest from the trees sometimes when you have an expectation of certain things happening negatively to impact you, or just being in such a tough rut that it's hard for you to come out of it. So life sometimes will throw enough at us to blind us and make it harder for us to dream and envision what the ideal self for us looks like. So it takes a while to take a step back, reflect, recharge, get some input from an outside source, friend, battle buddy, family member, and even sometimes a complete stranger, depending on the capacity and the situation. God can move by a myriad of options, right? It's just whatever pertains to you, whatever's tailored to you and your level of understanding, and whether or not you have an intimate, personal relationship with God. And that's something that I'm also building upon. And building upon that, that's what I hope to strengthen down the line for my ideal self. My ideal self is being back into the fold of working in God's ministry through a church out here. Continue to do what I do from a motivational standpoint and whatever else they need me to do. But bottom line, being where I need to be in the environment to be fed and to be taken care of. Number one and foremost. That's the priority. Family-wise, I can't begin to tell you. But somewhere in here is me being a productive parent, me being a loving parent, me being an ever-evolving parent with regard to disciplining my children. But not only that, being supportive, being loving and endearing to them as they go through their phases, as they come to me for advice and for sound counsel. So I see myself a bit more committed, more vocal, which may seem like a joke to some, but it is what it is. And continuing to edify them and support them and helping them reach and maximize their fullest potential, as a man should do. Some other things that I can see about myself, my ideal self, that is. I can see myself being back in the public eye in social settings, social environments, and being productive, being present, and being active. Now, that's not to say I'm going to be going to any sporting events with 60,000 people or any parades, but I'm going to do my fair share of involvement and to try to work through this process of social anxiety and hypervigilance in public situations. Matter of fact, I did that today, just impromptu, and felt the need to. And so I went to a Mexican food restaurant, great restaurant, hadn't been there in years though. Little outside the lunch window. So I went in. And for me, you know, a lot of it is capacity, it's volume, both in numbers and in pitch with sound. It's a lot. But this was very manageable. I'm proud of myself in the regard where I was able to get there, and when things started filling up because it was the lunch hour, I got myself out of there, and not a moment too soon. I did well. I did my breathing. I still kept a sharp eye, but I felt comfortable. I felt good, and it's something I prayed about before I went in and as I sat down. So ideal me looks like being more present in these environments, and therefore hoping to desensitize a lot of the traumas and a lot of the toil that my body and my mind have taken in these last probably 7-8 years. Something else in regards to my ideal self is being employed again. And so what I'm hoping to do in regards to, I already kind of, I'm a freelance video editor, graphic designer, and I do it for a church out here in the Salt Lake City area. And what I'm hoping to kind of leverage that into an opportunity through the Veterans Affairs and possibly earn a certification. And not only continuing to help and assist with the social media content and overall multimedia content for the church, but to also possibly turn that into an entrepreneurial opportunity, owning my own business, if you will. Merchandise, continued focus on the mental health and spiritual wellness realm, if you will. So those are those portions. And so eventually, financially, I would expect to be a little bit more caught on than where I am now, and especially where I would like to be. Health-wise, because health is wealth. We can't talk about jobs and all that until we talk about physical health. So I see myself definitely with a few more pounds off of me. I see myself breathing better, sleeping better, resting better, and getting up to go better, getting up to go faster, getting up to go more efficiently, and with more pizzazz and more charisma and with more enthusiasm. Just appreciating life, man. Just appreciating life, the ups and the downs. I mean, it's not for anyone's amusement, but, roller coasters are all about ups and downs, much like life, peaks and valleys, if you will. And this is a form, much like I've said before, an extension of my therapy, if you will, of me walking and talking through that and hopefully gaining some traction and possibly putting out a word or two for anyone who may indulge and want to partake in what I got going on over here. So the message today: identify your ideal optimal self. What is the vision of that person in that particular situation look like 6 months from now, 6 weeks from now even? What are you doing? What are you involved with? What are other people seeking your help and assistance on, whether professionally or personal? And these are one of the techniques that are really viable in helping us develop and improve ourselves from a mental standpoint, from a heart space standpoint, even, because that's vitally important as well. Because, quite frankly, you can't bleed what your heart isn't into. It usually shows. Your passion or lack thereof will usually show when things wash out in the rinse. So that's kind of a key component. But as you go forth today, think about that. Write it down. Put it in plain view, visible, eye level, in a common area, common heavily trafficked area, your room, the bathroom mirror, wherever you need to put it. Digitally, hey, if your phone's always, always in your hand, your face is always on somebody's page or timeline, put it on your phone, make it a wallpaper. Make it that much more visible and accessible and available to you to make it second nature, and you get desensitized to it to the point where your subconscious is constantly feeding itself. And so now you have this additional undertone that's helping you push through these tough challenges, especially when you procrastinate or when you're not feeling like chasing your ideal self or envisioning your ideal self today. So just a few things for you today. And remember, we can do all things with faith as the catalyst. As always, keep swimming, keep building.